In the stillness of the night, when the world feels calm and predictable, there are stories that quietly breathe beneath the surface, slowly, silently, pulling lives into the shadows. This is one of those stories, a relationship born from glamour, desire, and promises, but destroyed by obsession, jealousy, and a single decision that changed everything forever. Tonight, we uncover the truth behind a connection that the world now remembers as a fatal obsession. The night feels still, almost frozen in time, as if the world is quietly holding its breath for a story that began with charm, beauty, and the promise of something extraordinary. Long before the tragedy, before the shadow of suspicion ever entered the frame, there existed a glimmering world, one built on ambition, luxury, and the fragile illusion of love. This is where the story of Micah Kokova and Andrew Bush truly begins. Micah grew up in a small, quiet Slovakian town where dreams of becoming a model felt almost too big for the place she lived in. As a teenager, she spent hours practicing poses in the mirror, flipping through fashion magazines, and imagining a life filled with light, travel, and the artistic pulse of the world beyond her village. At 18, her ambition became stronger than her fear, and she left for the United Kingdom, hoping that new doors would open. But London and Bristol were not the glamorous destinations she had pictured. Modeling agencies rejected her, photo shoots were inconsistent, and the work that did come her way paid very little. Bills piled up, reality pushed back, and soon she found herself searching for any job that could keep her afloat. It was during this struggle, in 2010, that she walked into a jewelry store in Bristol for a simple customer service job interview. She didn't know that the man who owned the place, Andrew Bush, would shift the course of her life forever. Andrew was 44, a self-made millionaire known for his confidence, strict discipline, and a taste for luxury. The moment Andrew met Micah, many described the air between them as electric. He was drawn to her youth, her beauty, and the sense of fragility she carried. She, on the other hand, saw in him stability, attention, and the glamorous lifestyle she had always wanted. The relationship started quickly, almost too quickly. Andrew showered Micah with gifts, trips, and affection. While some people questioned the age difference, neither Micah nor Andrew seemed to care. Andrew offered her a life that looked like something out of the glossy magazines she once used for inspiration. For Micah, this world was intoxicating. For Andrew, it seemed like a chance to start fresh after a recent divorce. But beneath the surface of their fairy tale romance, small cracks began to appear. Micah's insecurities slowly transformed into possessiveness. Her jealousy didn't grow overnight. It crept in gradually, showing up in subtle ways at first. A comment here, an irritated look there, questions that felt a little too sharp, a little too frequent. When Andrew spoke to female customers or even friends, Micah's mood shifted instantly. She monitored him closely, followed his social interactions, and sometimes accused him of things without evidence. Andrew, used to independence and routine, grew irritated with her emotional storms. Their arguments intensified. Sometimes they were quiet and tense, sometimes loud and draining. The spark that once drew them together now began to feel like a fire that burned too hot. Micah's reactions became more dramatic, throwing tantrums, damaging things during emotional outbursts, and demanding constant reassurance. Andrew tried to calm her, tried to pull her back into stability, but it became increasingly clear that their personalities were clashing in a dangerous way. Then came the stories, claims Micah made that didn't quite add up. One time, she said she had been in a terrible car accident, yet couldn't explain where, when, or how it happened. These strange fabrications made Andrew question her emotional state even more. Friends noticed the tension. Employees at the store observed the arguments. The perfect couple image was beginning to crumble. By November 2013, Andrew had reached his limit. He told Micah that their relationship had fallen into a toxic pattern and that it needed to end for both their sakes. Micah didn't take it well. She begged, cried, and tried everything she could to pull him back. One evening, Andrew came home to find her handcuffed, claiming intruders had broken in. But police found no signs of a break-in. No fingerprints, no forced entry, nothing. Andrew realized something was very wrong. Whether it was a desperate attempt for attention or a deeper emotional issue, he couldn't ignore it any longer. He ended the relationship for good. Micah spiraled. She filled Andrew's phone with messages, some pleading, some angry, some confused. When he stopped responding entirely, she tried contacting him through social media, using friends, even trying to show up unannounced. But Andrew had made up his mind. He moved out and created distance. He needed peace. Micah eventually returned to Slovakia, but distance didn't weaken the emotional storm brewing inside her. She watched Andrew's life from afar, unhappy with what she saw. Because Andrew wasn't broken or devastated. In fact, he seemed relieved. He soon met Maria, a 20-year-old Russian woman who was independent, calm, and uninterested in his wealth. Maria had her own dreams and her own plans, and that made Andrew feel grounded again. Her relationship was peaceful, something he hadn't felt in a long time. But for Micah, this was unbearable. Seeing Andrew happy with someone else ignited something dark inside her. Anger, jealousy, heartbreak, and obsession blended into something she could no longer control. When Andrew and Maria planned a trip to his villa in Malaga, Spain, they thought it would be a quiet escape, a chance to relax, a chance to start fresh. But someone else had already decided that this story would not end peacefully. Someone had planned something long before they arrived at the villa that night. Someone who believed that if she couldn't have Andrew, no one else ever would. And when Andrew unlocked the door to his villa that night, the shadows inside were already waiting.
As detectives dug deeper into the timeline surrounding Sheila's final hours, an unsettling pattern began to surface. Every phone call she made, every place she visited, and every person she interacted with seemed to lead them back to one disturbing conclusion. Someone close to her had been watching her long before the night she disappeared. The CCTV angles that previously felt random now started aligning like pieces of a puzzle that had been deliberately scattered. When investigators replayed the footage from earlier that day, something chilling became clear. A dark figure had been tailing her from the parking garage to the cafe and then to the intersection where she was last seen. The person never came close enough to interact with her, but always stayed within view, just close enough to keep track, just far enough to avoid suspicion. This was not a coincidence. This was surveillance. One detective zoomed into a reflection captured in a storefront window, and there it was, a blurred silhouette wearing a hood, standing a few feet behind her. They had missed this detail for weeks, and now it changed everything. While the team continued analyzing footage, another discovery emerged from Sheila's phone records. Someone had been calling her repeatedly from an unknown number. The calls were short, never more than 2 seconds, like someone checking if the phone was on or if she was alone. Even more disturbing, cell tower data showed that whoever made those calls was always in the same area as Sheila. They weren't just contacting her, they were following her. When investigators searched her apartment again, they found something they overlooked, a small piece of electrical tape stuck behind her bedroom mirror. When they peeled it off, they found a tiny hole drilled through the wall, the size of a pin. That hole connected directly into the next-door storage room that was supposed to be empty, but it wasn't. Inside that room, they found a folded chair, cigarette butts, an empty energy drink, and a clear line of sight into Sheila's bedroom through the drilled hole. Whoever had been watching her wasn't doing it from far away. They were right beside her, separated only by a thin wall she never knew had been breached. The realization hit the detectives hard. This wasn't a random predator or a sudden attack. This was someone who had studied her patterns, obsessed over her movements, and built an entire routine around stalking her. When they cross-checked the storage room access logs, only one name appeared repeatedly around the time Sheila was home, and it belonged to someone she trusted, someone she had spoken to, laughed with, and never once suspected. But the most horrifying detail came when they connected this person to the hooded figure seen in the mirrored CCTV reflection. The body shape, the height, the walking pattern, all of it matched. The investigators now understood Sheila did not just encounter danger that night. She had been living with it for months without realizing. Someone had been slowly closing the circle around her, tightening the trap piece by piece. And on the night she vanished, that person finally made their move. The evidence was overwhelming, the timeline precise, and the motive painfully clear. The person she thought she could trust had been the one orchestrating her final moments. And as detectives prepared to confront the suspect, they knew this case was not just about a murder. It was about a descent into obsession, so controlled, so calculated, that every second of Sheila's last days had been engineered by a mind she never saw coming.
If you're still here watching, thank you. Before you go, please subscribe to our channel, Dark Frame Stories, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another real-life mystery like this.